We toss around words like impairment, disability, and handicap all the time, often as if they mean the exact same thing, but they really don't. And understanding the difference, well, it's not just some fussy language lesson. It's about a massive shift in how we see people, society, and our own role in building a world where everyone truly belongs.
So let's get right to it. Are they all the same? The short answer is a big fat no. But the longer answer, well, that reveals this really fascinating journey in how we understand human ability and the world we've all built. The lines we draw between these terms have huge real-world consequences. So let's start there. Let's talk about why these words matter so much.
All right, first step, why all the fuss? Why is it so incredibly important that we get this language right? This goes so much deeper than just being politically correct. The words we choose literally shape our reality. They are the blueprint we use to build our world, everything from our laws to our physical buildings. I mean, think about it. These definitions are the very foundation for our laws, the way doctors approach healthcare, and how architects even think about designing a space. When we get them right, we start to move away from an old model of pity or charity and toward a new one of meaningful support and real, genuine inclusion. To really get our heads around this, let's start at the most personal level, the condition itself. We're going to start with the word impairment. Okay, so an impairment is the medical reality. It's the health condition, plain and simple. It could be temporary, it could be permanent, it might be visible, or it might be invisible. The key thing here is that it exists within a person, totally separate from how they might interact with the outside world.
So an impairment might affect the body's physical structure, a limb or an organ, or it could affect function, like our psychological or sensory processes. But at its core, it's the diagnosed health problem itself. It's the medical piece of the puzzle.
All right, so we've got impairment, which is the condition. Now, let's zoom out a little and look at the interaction, that space between the person and their environment. This is where the whole concept of disability really comes into play. And that word right there, interaction, that is absolutely key. See, a disability isn't just the impairment itself, it's the limitation that happens when a person's impairment bumps up against a world that just wasn't designed for them. It's the result of that clash. And our thinking about this has come a long, long way. The old school medical model basically saw the person as the problem that needed to be fixed. Then the social model came along and totally flipped the script, arguing that society's barriers are the actual problem. And today, the interactional view kind of brings it all together, recognizing that disability emerges from that mix of both, the person and their environment. Which leads us perfectly to our third concept. So if impairment is the condition and disability is the interaction, what do we call the barrier itself? Well, that's the handicap. I mean, just look at this picture. For many of us, that's just a flight of stairs, right? It's just architecture. But for a person who uses a wheelchair, those exact same stairs become a massive barrier that completely blocks their access. In this case, the stairs are the handicap. See, a handicap isn't something a person has. It's something they encounter. It's the disadvantage created entirely by society, by our environment, or even our attitudes that stops someone from being able to fully participate. And man, these societal barriers are everywhere. They can be physical things, like a building with no ramp. They can be attitudes, like stigma and prejudice. Or they can be systemic, like a workplace that won't provide reasonable accommodations, or a website that doesn't work with assistive tech. So, knowing all this, how do we actually address some of these limitations? Well, there are two key approaches that really focus on building and restoring skills. Now, these two words sound really similar, but they're actually quite different. Habilitation is all about learning and acquiring skills for the very first time. You see this a lot with children with developmental conditions. Rehabilitation, on the other hand, is about regaining skills that someone once had but lost, maybe after an accident or an illness. So you can think of it like this. Habilitation helps build a foundation of skills from the ground up. Rehabilitation works to restore a foundation that was already there but got damaged along the way. Okay, wow. We've really covered a lot of ground here. So let's bring it all back together and talk about what this means for us, our collective role in all of this. Because here's the thing, a truly inclusive society doesn't just focus on fixing or helping individuals to fit into the world as it is. No, it focuses on proactively redesigning the world itself, our systems, our spaces, our attitudes, so that everyone can participate fully right from the very start. So, if you only take one thing away from this whole explainer, Let it be this simple breakdown. Impairment is the condition, disability is the interaction, and handicap is the barrier. One is medical, one is functional, and one is entirely societal. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. Now that you can see the difference, now that you know what to look for, what barriers can you help remove? It could be a physical barrier in your community, an attitude at your job, or a systemic one in our society. What's one thing you can do to help take a barrier down?